AITA for telling a lady not to do hip thrusts at a bench? Yesterday I was at the gym, and I noticed this lady who was doing hip thrusts at a flat bench. This looked weird, but regardless I went up to her and asked how many sets she has, to which she said 1. As a result, I decided to wait until she's done with her exercise. For those of you that don't work out, a flat bench press at any gym is 90% of the time being used, and most of the time you'll have to wait in line. It looks extremely bad to do any other exercise that John be done at a different spot where people don't have to wait. However, I let the lady do her exercise. She then tells me with attitude, "Why don't you do another exercise until I'm done?" To which I say, "I'll just wait until you're finished with your set." She tells me I don't know gym etiquette and that I'm impatient, to which I respond with, "Maybe you shouldn't be doing hip thrusts at a flat bench if you don't want people constantly waiting." She then reports me to the staff. The staff essentially saw where I was coming from, but does note that people can do any exercise ATANY machine. I told her I was aware, which is why I waited until the lady was done. I'm asking AITA because 2 other people who overheard the conversation said I was rude. AITA for not wanting to adjust to my 28F boyfriend's 26M parents living with us for months at a time. My BF and I have been living together for 3 years in a city in Australia. A few months ago, his parents arrived from India to live with us. I was excited to make an impression and went out of my way to make them feel comfortable. They were nice to me in the beginning, but some of their demands started making me feel queasy in my own home. They were uncomfortable with my boyfriend and I sleeping together in the same room, resulting in my boyfriend having to camp out in the living room for 2 months too. The mother taking over the kitchen and excluding me from grocery shopping even after requests to include me. 3. Not acknowledging me as his GF in front of friends. 4. Not offering to help with cleaning and general upkeep. 5. Rearranging furniture multiple times in spite of being requested not to. 6. The father expressing his concern over me not helping his wife in the kitchen, which wasn't true. 7. The parents giving credits to my BF and thanking him instead of me on multiple occasions even when they knew he was not involved in planning, execution of dinner parties, trips, etc. 8. The father feeling uncomfortable that I wore a short dress at home. He did apologize later when he ended up crying about this but insisted that the seer that values his family has been brought up with. I suppose my issue is not that his parents are not very nice to me, but that my BF, who has been nothing short of ideal all the years I've known him, seems to not acknowledge any of these as real issues and did not stand up for me when his father had an issue with my clothes. All of my concerns were either dismissed with, "So what? They are guests. We have to make them feel comfortable," or, "My dad is traditional and there's nothing wrong with his mentality." The parents left after spending 3 months here and I moved to another city in Australia for a job shortly after. My long-distance relationship has been great for the 4 months that we've been living apart and we see each other once a month. However, my BF recently told me his parents are visiting shortly for 2 months again. I am shocked that my BF wouldn't consult me or warn me before their flight tickets were booked. It has triggered the concerns I previously had and are met with, but they are my parents. I was also told that these visits will be frequent and I have to be awkward with this when I move back in with him and being asked to give up my privacy and personal space for months every year. I want to make it clear here that I would never ask my BF to stop his parents from visiting us for a few weeks once a year or so. AITA for expecting my BF to take my needs into consideration and stand up for me when needed. Edit. I am an Indian too, but from a different culture. I'm shocked to see the number of comments confirming how rampant this is even in educated Indian families. AITA for saying no to meal prepping my boyfriend's meals while I am doing chemotherapy. I, 31F, currently have a rare cancer called synovial sarcoma and have been undergoing ifosfamide chemotherapy since the beginning of January. I do 8 hours in the cancer center, 5 days a week, every 3 weeks. Treatments are very taxing on my body, mostly nausea and extreme fatigue among other side effects. My boyfriend, 24M, asked me the night before my next chemo cycle if I would meal prep his meals for him. I was hesitant and didn't want to flat out just say no because he is very sensitive and starts arguments often. So I said it would depend how I feel, but I thought it would be better if I did it in a week and a half when I felt recovered from this chemo cycle. He was insistent and kept asking if I could just try and wasn't taking no for an answer. I started to become agitated because if I'm being honest, I want to feel coddled and taken care of during this time in my life, not pushed to doctors. It's not as if he was asking for a single meal. He wanted his entire week's worth of food made by me after being in the hospital for 10 hours. For reference, he works early mornings and gets out in the early afternoon. It's not as if he is so busy he cannot do this himself. I think his point is that he still wants to be taken care of as well, which is understandable, but it's not as if I never do anything for him. Whenever he is at my place, I offer any food I have on hand, will cook meals or make a sandwich depending on the day. I rub and massage him when we are on the couch, ask about himself and his life etc. In other words, it's not like our entire lives are about me and my sickness. Also, I didn't straight out refuse to make his meals, I just offered to make them when I knew I would feel better. He blew up on me saying acts of services is his love language and that our relationship is one-sided. He went on and on sending angry texts. I didn't argue back too much because I'm not much for arguing. He doesn't even do that much for me. He takes out my trash when I ask him to and gives me massages when my body hurts, and I do appreciate those things. I have never complained. AITA for calling a mother a itch after our kids got into an accident at the park. Earlier today, my 9-year-old daughter wanted to go to the park after she got out of school, so I agreed to take her. Our park has one of those zipline rides, which is my daughter's favorite, so she immediately learned to ride it. The second she got on and started riding, a little boy, maybe 2 years old, ran in front of her and she collided with him, knocking him over. He started screaming and his mom ran over to pick him up. My daughter apologized profusely and said it was an accident and she didn't see him, but the mom scolded her for not paying attention and said she seriously injured the kid. My daughter started crying and I felt like the mom was being too aggressive, especially saying the kid was seriously injured, since he didn't have a scratch in him, so I stepped in and told the woman not to yell at my kid over a simple accident. She said I'm a lazy mom for not teaching my kid to pay better attention and my daughter's too big to be playing on the playground as it is. Those words triggered something in me and I lost my temper. I called her a itch for talking to a child like that over an accident and said that maybe if she'd been watching her toddler more carefully, this wouldn't have happened. She stormed off and I took my daughter home immediately. She cried the whole drive, and when we got home she went to her room. I came and talked to her about what happened, and she said that what the woman said hurt, but I was worse because I embarrassed her by being a Karen. I have to admit I was a bit shocked to hear that. I thought she'd be glad that I defended her. AITA for how I handled this. AITA for taking my daughter with brain damage to Disney and possibly ruining other people's trips. A little backstory. My 25F toddler, 3F, was born with brain damage. It causes her to have difficulty understanding a lot of things. She also can't talk. Her only form of communication is screaming, crying. She also makes very loud noises when she is happy. I want to make this very clear, no amount of discipline or teaching her will ever help with this. But despite all her difficulties, she has fallen in love with all things Disney. Because of this, I decided to take her to Disney. I did my best to prepare for things. I planned the rides she could do around times that would be less busy. I brought toys and activities to distract her through wait times. But things happen. We'd had people be rude to us and her all day long. Mostly little things. A group of teenage girls pointed, laughed, and even took pictures of my daughter as she did her best to eat her lunch. People rolled their eyes at us and made snide comments as she attempted to carry every stuffed Disney toy she saw. But my final straw was when we were waiting in line for the Toy Story Alien ride. She was able to see the ride from where we were in line, so of course she started getting antsy. I did my best to distract her, but I was failing. She couldn't wait any longer. When the line wasn't moving, she started to scream in frustration. I picked her up to comfort her, but that made things worse. She started screaming louder and thrashing around. People were staring and talking about her under their breath. She needs to control her kid. That's just ridiculous. Why bring your kid if they act like that? Finally someone said, a swift spanking will fix that. I'd had enough and snapped that she had brain damage and she couldn't help it. I got so upset that we just ended up leaving. At first I thought they were the but after hearing a friend's opinion, I'm beginning to question myself. They said her screaming is unpleasant and it possibly ruined people's day. So 8th edit. Thank you all. You've made me feel so much better and have given me the courage to return to Disney with my daughter. I just need to stop feeling guilty for us having a place in the world. Also thank you for all your advice. I wish I was given that info from the beginning. Edit number 2. I responded this to someone else, but no feel it is necessary to add here. Believe me, I know how annoying and frustrating, agonizing even, it can be to listen to her scream. I do it every single day. I listen to it until I want to make myself go deaf so I don't have to hear it anymore. but despite all of that, I have compassion towards her and to any other parent experiencing what I experience. I understand in ways parents of normal kids don't. I feel immensely guilty the moment she starts screaming in public. This is why I do my best to take her to places where there aren't really any people. But I knew Disney would be somewhere she'd truly be happy. So I took her. I guess if that makes me the then so be it. I just want my daughter to feel like she deserves Togo anywhere she wants. After reading all these supportive comments, I'm sorry if other people find this annoying, but I'm not taking away from her anymore. Thanks to those that showed support.